Yeah. Let's get to it. We got minicamp, baby.
The best show for Chicago sports.
We're starting to get closer and closer and closer to football. Day one of minicamp is in the books. Got to talk about our takeaways. Caleb Williams, what he looked like out there. What we saw defensively out there today. Of course, the left tackle conversation is one that continues to be at the forefront for the Chicago Bears. We'll talk about all that more on today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Drop a $1 down in the chat as well. Appreciate y'all for showing love, man. We got a lot to get into on today's episode. Big shout out to you guys for rocking with the channel. As always, I need y'all to go ahead and do me a favor real quick. Go ahead and
Come on. Push the button. Come on. Push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push your button.
You heard what she said.
y'all heard what Sue Young said. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, man. Day one of rookie minicamp in the book. Got to talk with the head coach today. Talk about some of the takeaways from that. Of course, got to talk with DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet. Just a good all-around day at minicamp. And I think, you know, you kind of got to listen in to what Ben Johnson said. I see the think pieces on the videos that I've posted. And, of course, there's always think pieces on the videos. I've seen the think pieces on the sections of practice that people are seeing, the moments in practice that people are seeing, and how they're absolutely losing their minds based off of small things that are happening right now. But I do think that you have to look at this one of two ways. One, the small things, as we heard today, are important. The small things like footwork, the small things like hand placement, the small things like, you know, going through the snap count the right way, going through calling the play with the right cadence, still dealing with some of that fatigue when going through the cadence. Like, you have to pay attention to the small things. But some of y'all are overdiagnosing where we're at right now. Y'all thinking we all the way at training camp, but we're only at mandatory minicamp. And I think that you saw a little bit of differences with how things are being run now versus what we've seen in the past. But what I will say is this. I like where we're at right now. I want to know how you guys are feeling coming out of hearing, I'm sure, everybody talking about the first day of mandatory minicamp here. The one thing that I will say to start off with Caleb Williams, because I think that's the part that we all think is the most important part. Like the video if you agree. The one thing that I will say about Caleb Williams starting off is we're not to the point yet, and maybe we're not supposed to be to the point yet, where you've seen anything that has wowed you. We're not there yet. We're not to the point where it feels like, okay, the system has clicked. He's running through everything perfectly. Everybody's in the right spots. We've got a dominant offense all the way. We are nowhere near that. So if anybody is going through all of these moments and all of these things happening at OTAs, and that's what you're getting out of this, there's nothing there. The one thing I will say is we got to see Karan Amagaji start things off with the ones here, and the difference that I think you see when Caleb Williams is out there with Karan versus when Caleb was out there with Ozzie, I will say there are subtle differences, but it feels like Caleb may be a little bit more comfortable in the run right now with Karan out there versus in the pass. And I thought Ben Johnson, when he answered the question today about, you know, how are you going to evaluate this left tackle position, he said it starts off with the pass pro. Excuse me, when I was last at OTAs, Caleb Williams seemed a lot more comfortable in the pass with Ozzie Trapilo out there. Now, with all that being said, you saw Caleb Williams throw a couple of interceptions that day when Ozzie was out there with the ones. So while he was more comfortable, he didn't get the ball where it needed to go, all the install and stuff that goes into place. But Karan getting in the run with the ones yet again seemed like Caleb, you know, a little bit more hesitant today. There's, like I said, there's nothing that's wowed me at any of these practices to this point. I think there's one deep ball pass that maybe has really wowed me. They're going through this process of trying to get on the same page here and trying to understand what Ben Johnson is expecting of them. And I think you really have to focus on what DeAndre Swift talked about today, the small details, the little details, the things like getting in and out of the huddle with the right tempo, getting in with the right cadence, having the right conversations, right? Cole Kmet talked about being lined up in the right spot. He said he was a yard off of the ball, and Ben Johnson told him afterwards, basically, hey, I'm trying to get you to effing ball, my guy. Like you got to go out there and make this play. I'm trying to get you the ball. I'm trying to get you involved in this offense more. So I think that a lot of what we're seeing here, especially at this mandatory minicamp point, the goal is to have everybody in the building. We did apparently have everybody in the building, even though some people weren't out there. Luther Burden's still not out there just as of yet. Zach Pickens was not seen today, which I think was a little bit interesting. He was somebody who we had seen before who was not out there. I told y'all I was going to be looking for him and looking to see what he was going to be doing. He was not out on the field, so don't know when or if we're going to see him out there. There are a lot of question marks right now around Zach Pickens, and so hopefully we see a little bit more from him as things continue to go on here, because that's a third-round pick that you're hoping to see some growth out of. But right now where this Bears team is at is just still very, very early in the install process, and it looks like it. Looking at Karan Amagaji, I think that him getting the go with the ones today was more smooth than the first time that we saw him out there. Remember, that first time was only 2 days into the install period, there was kind of this – the feeling I left that first practice seeing Karan out there was wow, this dude cannot play left tackle. I didn't feel that way today. He moved well. Again, there's no pads on, so it's not like you could sit there and dissect anything deeply that Karan did, but he moved well today. I thought that he got out in space really well. I thought in the run game he probably looked his most comfortable today, and there definitely seems to be more of a understanding and more of a comprehension or a know-how on the plays that they're running on the install that we've seen from Ben Johnson here. Clearly there has been more of a more of that install process and more of that teaching process that has gone on, and him working with Dan Rochard does have Karan looking a heck of a lot more comfortable right now. I think the big thing right now with where he's at, and if he is going to be the one competing for this starting left tackle job, and you heard Ben Johnson talk about it as well, is truly the how is he in the pass pro game, and how is he at the details of the pass pro game. Ben Johnson talked about today when talking about, going out there and working in pass protection. I asked him, what is the goal that you want to see? What is the accomplishment you want to see from either Ozzie or from Karan to take hold of this number one spot? And he said that the evaluation comes down to pass pro. The evaluation comes down to when you're on the field, how are you in the pass blocking? Everything on top of that when it comes to run blocking is gravy, which is, I'm going to be real with you, it continues to be surprising to hear when you see how much and how locked in on running the football Ben Johnson has been in the past. I think that it is a little bit more surprising to see kind of Ben Johnson go out here with the mindset of, hey, it starts with the pass pro, which I think is the right mindset, but I just expected him to be more focused in on the running game because of everything that you can create off of that running game. But he says, listen, it's about how comfortable you are and how good you are at the details in the passing game, in pass pro. And so hopefully we see Karan. Listen, I don't care who does it. I would love to see Karan step up in this moment. I would love to see Karan Amagaji go out there and take over this left tackle spot. He was a third-round pick last year. You can figure it out. Whoever falls into place at the left tackle spot, I think that is the thing for me where I'm like, I don't care what name it is, just go out there and get it done. You know what I mean? Like that's the bottom line on everything. I don't care who plays left tackle for the Chicago Bears moving forward, as long as somebody does it and they're able to stay upright. And again, I think you got to go back to the conversation we had the other day when talking about the offensive line, where they're at right now on this day one of minicamp, right? Braxton Jones can't compete in these spots. So all that you've seen of Braxton Jones to this point when looking at the tape, and you've got to think when going up against him, Ben Johnson went up against the Chicago Bears. All you've seen of Braxton Jones is Braxton Jones get killed on that left side. So now you're coming into minicamp. You can say, hey, we hope to work Braxton back into the mix. This is all going to be fluid, but let's be real. The tape you saw Braxton in pass pro is not good. The tape you saw Braxton in pass pro is Braxton going backwards. And if that's the tape that Caleb or that Braxton Jones has put on display, and right now that's all he's got to work with, all that you've got is, hey, we've got these other guys who are kind of figuring it out, who are early in the process, who have been here for the entire teaching process, that are hitting the ground running here at that left tackle spot. If you're comfortable heading into minicamp or heading out of minicamp, heading towards training camp, why wouldn't you stick with them? I feel like right now, if you're talking about that left tackle position, whoever starts off this final day, because I would assume Ozzie is going to go tomorrow. Unfortunately, I won't be up at practice tomorrow, but my assumption is that Ozzie is going to go tomorrow. He's going to be the starting left tackle, and as they keep swapping this out. And logic would tell you that Karan on day 3 is going to be the one that is out there because they just keep swapping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think if you feel comfortable with one of those positions, you may see that player out there that third day. That may be an indication of who's going to be the starting left tackle heading into training camp, because again, you're not going to see those veterans at that third OTA day. That's usually just for the rookies. So we'll see who ends up winning out there. But I got to give credit where credit is due. Karan looked good at left tackle today. Again, no pads, right? Nothing really to push off of. You're still going through early in the process, still trying to figure out some of the small details. But I came on here and I was at his head when he looked horrible and just didn't stand up on one rep. I'm gonna give him props when he does well. And today I thought he did fine at that left tackle position. Some of the passes that we saw Caleb Williams make today, I think that if there was one takeaway from anything, Caleb delivered a pass over the middle. Nice pass, drove it into the hands of Olamide Zaccheaus. I thought that good route by Zaccheaus. There was a lot of in that first team rep where you ended up going to him. He was working out of the slot, of course. And there were just these moments where Caleb locked in on Olamide and it was working for him. And that takeaway for me was, hey, man, you can't come in here and just assume that Luther Burden is going to win this third wide receiver spot no matter what. Olamide Zaccheaus is building a relationship here with Caleb Williams, and one where he's somebody I can count on. He's somebody I can get the ball to. He's somebody who, if I need to check down, boom, check down. I'm not saying he's the number one on the play. I think that's DJ. I think that's Rome. You've got other guys who are stepping in place there who are living up to some of those moments. But the takeaway for me for where Olamide Zaccheaus is right now is you can't count out the fact that this young man is probably going to be somebody who's going to be pushing for that third wide receiver spot. Don't think this is not a competition. Don't go into this thinking that this is not a competition. I think Luther Burden is going to have to really come out and really show his stuff here if he's going to come in and win that third wide receiver spot. Now, does that mean that he's not Ben Johnson's guy? Does that mean that, they're not going to sit there and try and give Luther Burden every opportunity to win that job? 100%. And at the end of the day, if Caleb Williams locks in on Luther Burden, it is what it is, right? But I think that this is more of a competition than people want to give it credit for, because of the fact that Olamide Zaccheaus just goes out there and does his job well. Olamide Zaccheaus is a slot wide receiver that knows how to do his job and continues to get praise for doing his job well. And I think that's something really to take away from that. Of course, I talked about Ozzie Trapillo. He ended up getting in with the 2s today. Looks just as comfortable as he did with the 1s. But again, I will also say this too. 2s is kind of relative. We saw Ozzie out there, and Darnell Wright was at the right tackle with the 2s a couple of times. So they are swapping bodies in and out in different ways. But again, Ozzie looked good. I thought that He continues to show proper technique. He continues not to make mental mistakes. Have not been a ton of flags thrown to this point. And we do have referees out there. Have not been a ton of flags thrown on the Chicago Bears. The small things, the discipline seems like it's actually in a good place right now early on. And of course, you go back to the coaching staff and you credit the coaching staff for that. Just coming in here with a different mindset, actually seeing this team take the pre-snap process seriously. Again, we've talked about it how many times where Caleb Williams and how Ben Johnson explained this was Caleb Williams essentially is dealing with some fatigue, right? You get to the end of a long practice. It's early on. Today, it was a little bit of a hotter day. The wind made it a little bit nicer, but a little bit hotter, right? It probably was 85, 86 out there. And he talked about the fatigue and how that starts to play in at the end of practice. And, you know, when you're calling a play and the play's not called like you're ready to go out there and work, hey, get back to the huddle. F that. What did he say? He said, F that, get back to the huddle. We're doing it right. I think you see those moments. And so it was exciting to see. It's always exciting to see these coaching moments, those blow up moments, those moments where the coach is chewing a guy out, right? Actually turn into things where you start to notice, right? Day one of minicamp, I think we saw one flag thrown the whole day, and the first flag that was thrown almost at like the very end of practice where some of that fatigue may start to set in. Like, those are the things for me that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for guys to be the greatest quarterback, greatest wide receiver, greatest offensive line, greatest defensive line of all time you've ever seen right now, because we're not at that point. When we start to get deeper into training camp, then you start to have some of the concerns. The one thing, and I said this kind of in the beginning when talking about Caleb, and I think it applies here with a lot of the guys on the field, but especially with Ozzie, with Karan at that left tackle spot, that is something that's being so focused on right now. There's nothing that you're seeing on the field right now that's wowing you. It's just guys doing their job. I'm going and watching guys do their job. And so the big plays out of camp, right, are when Caleb throws a seam down the left sideline and it hits DJ Moore in the hands and it's, oh my God, he's down the field, touchdown. Except none of that matters, because in a real game situation, you may not have time to wait for DJ Moore to get down the field. You may have to let that ball go a little bit earlier to somebody underneath. So a lot of the passes that we're seeing completed from Caleb Williams are short yardage passes. Guess what? A lot of the passes we saw from Jared Goff that were completed are short yardage passes in game, in season. It's more of a realistic scenario. And so some of the deep passes that you see, it's like, okay, would I like for you to hit that one? Would I like for you to make that play down the field? Not seeing that as much here early on, but it's also the fact that the defensive line kind of has an advantage with the offensive line having nothing to push off of. Pressure in his face. What's Caleb do? Boom, drop it down, quick check down. And legitimately quick checkdowns are being wrapped up almost immediately by the Bears defense. So again, when you're talking about who's winning the day early on, the Bears are winning. That's what I'm excited about right now. The Chicago Bears are winning. So I brought up the Caleb point to then again go back to Karan, go back to Ozzie and say boring day. Boring day for most of the guys on the line. Nobody stood out. I don't think that anybody was just dominating one way or the other. I think that they all looked like they were going to work and they were working through the process. I don't think that there's a situation where I'm sitting here worried about anybody on the team just yet. If I'm worried about anybody, I'm worried about Luther Burden, because I haven't seen him to this point. I would like to see this young man get on the field, but it seems like he's still dealing with some of those soft tissue things. And we did get an answer on that when I asked, this morning. I don't know if everybody being there and reporting means that everybody's going to be out there, or that just everybody is going to be there. It was that everybody was in the building, but not that everybody was out there on the field. So, hey, drop y'all questions in here as well. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. If you have not done so, hit that like button. I think somebody said it's over. We do have, hold on, give me a second. We do have over 100 in the chat. Over 200 in the chat. 200, almost at 300 in the chat. Somebody said we got like 23 likes on the video. I don't know where the likes is at right now, but tap in with us on that as well. What else did I get in the notes? Now, Caleb Williams did throw a pick today. To me, from my vantage point, And I didn't get a chance to ask DJ about this because once I got my question, everybody else kind of was jumping in there, and I didn't want to force the issue on that one. And it's early. It's not that important. But to me, Caleb Williams threw an interception, tried to make a tight window pass to DJ Moore. I thought that Caleb got it through the first DB's hands, which I believe was Jaquan Brisker coming over to help. But it ended up getting to DJ, going through DJ's hands. Looked like it hit him in both hands, goes through DJ's hands. And Nashawn Wright was right there to pick the football off. It was to me, a good defensive drill. It was Caleb Williams taking a shot, taking a chance, things we didn't see him do last year. And it resulted in an interception this time. Again, not worried about it. I like the fact, and the big takeaway for me with a lot of this is I like the fact that we're seeing Caleb take chances. Caleb was under play it safe rules last year. Caleb was doing nothing but playing it safe last season. Oh, we don't want to throw that pass. We don't want to throw that up there like that because there's a chance that it could get picked off. Oh yeah, usually 50-50 balls are 50 for you, 50 for the defender. Now, to me, this one may have been more of a 60-40 ball that Caleb tried to throw to a turn into a 50-50 ball by forcing it in there to DJ Moore. And maybe you want to see him not try and force that pass in there. But again, in the moment, early on, I like the fact that you're taking these chances. I like the fact that you're seeing Caleb Williams taking these chances. That to me is something that was attempted to be coached out of him last season. And to me, that's the reason you went out and drafted him. You didn't draft Caleb Williams for him to come in here and be a 150-yard passer where everything's underneath. You drafted Caleb Williams to be out there and go out there and make plays. And he's trying to make plays. So I do like that. And this one did result in an interception. I think this is his third in the last two practices that we've seen. So maybe you want to cut down on that. I'm sure Ben is not thrilled by that. But again, then you go back, you look at the tape, and you correct those mistakes. You come back out tomorrow at minicamp and you try to upgrade everything that you saw. You try to upgrade those moments that fell short in the last couple of days of practice. One person that did throw an absolute dart today, just to give him some credit, was Tyson Bagent. Threw an absolute dart to, and I left my paper in the bag, so I don't know who this is, but number 83, nice little crossing route, and Tyson on time, delivered the ball well, got it into his hands. They were running 2-minute drill at this point. By the way, I didn't say this, that Nashawn Wright pick was in a 2-minute drill, so they were trying to move down the field. That was a moment where Caleb tried to push the ball down the field. Tyson threw an absolute dart. And I love watching Tyson play. My favorite thing about camp is always watching Tyson play, because you can count on there being one play every practice where he goes, kill, check. And you just know he's about to let it rip. He's about to launch this thing down the sideline and try to throw a bomb. Every practice, I look forward to seeing that from Tyson. This one was a little bit more controlled, shall we say. And Tyson delivered a nice ball over to 83 and got a touchdown in the 2-minute drill. Good job by Tyson Bagent on that one. And then the final thing that really stood out for me from practice today was, because a lot of it was, again, you're starting things off, you're working through, you're continuing the process that you were in OTAs here. But we got to see a play from Tyreek Stevenson where and I love the fact at how they're allowing this. OTAs were very physical. Minicamp has been very physical to this point. There's a couple of bodies on the ground every now and then. There's some hits where you go, that may have been a little bit extra. I don't know about that one. That was a little bit extra on that one, and not extra in the way like they're hitting late or anything like that. But it's like there's a line to how hard you should be hitting somebody, or if you even should be hitting somebody. And these mugs are like champing at the bit to get out there and hit somebody, and it's showing because there's some collisions that we're seeing. And in this one, there was a nice pass, I believe it was to Roma Dunze over the middle of the field. Started to get out Tyreek Stevenson, following him down, punching at the football the entire way, gets a hand on the ball, strips it out. Rome is looking around. He's like, bro, like, I thought we were blowing the play dead. Like, what are we doing? And just good job by Tyreek not giving up on the play, getting his hand in there, strips it out, ball in the air. Defense ended up picking it up. And you know what happens when the Bears defense picks up a fumble or any ball that is on the ground. They're running all the way back. They're excited. They're hype about it. It's good to see Tyreek back and having the right mindset here early on. You know, Tyreek Stevenson is somebody who went through a lot last season. He's somebody who I think when you talk about focusing in on when you're focusing in on a player. Thank you, Tony Tsunami. Samari Toure is 83. Shout out to you, my guy. I think I have it in the Discord. And I just got to put that back in here. I think I do have that in the Discord though. And I got to just save it to my computer where I can pull it up all the time. But yeah, listen, to me, Tyreek coming back with the right mindset. Now Harris talked about this when we had a conversation with him, about, some of the penalties that he dealt with last season, some of the moments where, of course, the tip pass and stuff like that, where he just wasn't focused. And now Harris's response was, well, he hasn't worked with me yet, and I haven't worked with him yet. And it seems like early on, you are seeing some of the effects of where Tyreek is locked in. When you see Tyreek out on the field, Tyreek is focused. He is all about ball. And he's really just, you can tell that last season's lesson is one that will stick with him for the rest of his career. He is memorialized in Washington football history, and he will always be a part of that play. There will be 30 for 30 documentaries where no matter how Tyreek's career goes, they will pick up the phone and go, hey, are you available for an interview? Because we want to talk about the fact that you were taunting the crowd before you went out there and you tipped the ball away, which I know he says he was celebrating with fans. He wasn't taunting the opposing fans. I know people that were in that section. He was taunting. It's okay. But seeing how locked in he is football-wise, seeing how, all you can do is learn from the lesson. That's it. You can have that moment. You can have that mistake. It's a dumb mistake. It's one that cost you a game. It's one that, to me, maybe sent your season into a little bit of a spiral, even though I think that's more of a head coaching problem than anything else. That's more of a organizational problem than anything else. But to me, like when you talk about Tyreek Stevenson, I've talked about, how do you bounce back? And we really didn't see much of that bounce back the rest of the season. We really didn't see that lock back in, that belief that, hey, that was a moment. It was a dumb moment, and I can bounce back and be even better than that. We saw Terrell Smith get a lot more of those reps. I think that Al Harris has Tyreek believing, especially early on in this process, that, hey, man, like, this doesn't happen without you. Like, we got to go out here. We got to make plays, and you got to be one of the guys making plays, especially if you're talking about being one of the guys to make plays in man-to-man. Because Jalen's following the number one all the way around. So guess what? We're playing the Vikings week 1. Jalen's got Justin. You got Jordan. And Jordan can cook. So you got to be locked in. You got to have that right mindset early on, man. If you don't, especially in these moments, if you don't have the right mindset at OTAs, at training camp, that, hey, I can move past this, I can learn that lesson, and we're going to get 10 times better from that, you're not going to be able to do anything. Yeah, you're going to live in that moment for the rest of your career, and I don't think that's what Tyreek Stevenson is doing here, and I love that. The one definitive thing that continues to kind of pop up to me, especially looking at the defensive side of the ball, is when you're talking about going out and pinpointing leadership on that defensive side of the ball. I think that Javon Dexter has been one of those people who has stepped up. He talked about the practice that he organized where Montez came down there, Grady Jarrett came down there, being a leader on this defensive line. I think we all expected Grady Jarrett to kind of take over as the leader on this defensive line. It seems like, Javon Dexter has been one of those guys who's been like, hey, follow me. You see that a ton, right? When the defense is getting ready, when the defense is out there, he's the one who's talking to everybody and focusing in everybody and getting these guys going here on the defensive line. It just seems that way to me. And then on top of that, Jaquan Brisker. I think we underestimate how important Jaquan Brisker is. I think we truly, truly do. And I know people are going to say from a football standpoint, right? Of course, he's a playmaker. Of course, he can go out there and he can knock the ball away. Of course, he can go out there and he can be dominant in that effect. But I think as far as keeping the guys organized, letting guys know where they need to be, what positions they need to be in, like that's somebody who I hear talking constantly, and I'm standing by the speaker. That's somebody that I hear talking constantly, and I'm standing next to Future that is playing over the speaker. By the way, it is hilarious going out there because they're playing like Young Jock, Jeezy, 50 Cent. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, who are they playing this for? Nobody on this team is old enough to know any of these lyrics word for word. Meanwhile, Antoine Randall's over there vibing out. Yeah, I mean, so I want to ask whoever's in charge of the music, like, who's coming up with the playlist? Because this sounds like a Ben Johnson playlist. And then every now and then you get some of the young dudes, right? You get some Gunna in there and stuff thrown in. But, like, bro, like, you can tell these young boys ain't listening to it. Hey, King Booger World, facts. He said that's the enemy playlist. Facts. I'm sitting there running. That's how I'm running. Then it like clicked to me. I was like, bro, there's nobody on this team that was born when this song came out, bro. Like, there's nobody on the team that was even thought of when this song came out. Grady Jarrett, Joe Tooney. We know Tooney's not bumping it. But it was hilarious, bro. But the one thing that I continue to say, right, outside of the music side note there, was Jaquan Brisker, the most vocal person on the team. He's all about ball. He's all about ball. And I think he's somebody, when you look forward, I pray that he has the healthy season that we're hoping that he has, because he seems like one of those pieces that not only is it going to be tough for you to go out there and move on from and replace, even though I've said I trust the DB guy with my life on this team, but it's just one of those, to me, he's one of those players that maybe the value is not spoken of enough because it's not coming from a premier position. But almost kind of like how Cam Chancellor was for those Seahawks teams. You know what I mean? Or, you know, like Akeem Talib for those Broncos teams. Like one of those players that you just go, oh, that's a leader on the team. That's a guy that makes sure that everybody is about their business. That's a guy that gets the extra rep in. That's a guy that gets the extra work in. That's a guy that goes out there and is making sure that everybody, as who said that today? Cole Kmet said today, everybody's out there getting that sixth rep in A to A. You know, you're not sitting there taking days off. That's the kind of player you want on this team. Dare I say, I didn't want to say him. Yeah, I mean, shout out to Antoine. Said he's our modern day Mike Brown. I didn't want to say Mike Brown because I do feel like when we lost Mike Brown, that was the end. And I don't think that this defense is that it would be the end if we lost Jaquan Brisker. But I do think it would be massive. I think Brisker is bigger to this team than most people believe, and he's one of those players that you have to see go out there, and it would be tough for this team to line up without Brisker. And I think you saw that last season with this defense. I know we look at the run game and we say, you know, it really fell off when Andrew Billings got beat up in there. Not really. It fell off when Jaquan Brisker was gone. You know what I mean? That's really when it ended up falling off. After that, the defense didn't look the same 1 week after that. Not 1 week did the defense look the same. Let me get to some of y'all questions as well. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. If you have not done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do, man. We've got more content. We're going to keep you covered all off season, of course, and of course, all mini camp. Again, like I said, won't be up there tomorrow. So if you're in the Discord, I won't have clips for you tomorrow because I will be at a funeral, unfortunately. But Thursday, I will be back up there and we'll be back at it, back in action. But yeah, drop any of you guys questions that you have. Say Shy City with a question said, has Kyler Gordon soft tissue injury Has Kyler Gordon had a soft tissue injury every preseason since being in the NFL? Yeah, but I think the thing with Kyler is a lot of that stuff usually doesn't linger. And even now, I think some of the soft tissue stuff that you're seeing from some of these players, from a guy like Luther Burden, from Kyler Gordon, from, some of these guys. And J-Mac talked about this with me as well, is, you're making a change that your body is not used to going through. At a certain point in the league, you kind of get used to, okay, this is the process. This is what we go through. This is what we expect. Boom. And Kyler Gordon has been there for all 3 years of Flus. When you have that coaching change, so when J-Mac went from Dick Duran into Lovie Smith, he talked about how many hamstrings were going to end up getting pulled. He talked about how many soft tissue injuries there were going to be on the field because of how different these guys were going to be running, how much more they were going to be running. Now, I'll tell you what, we haven't seen these guys run this hard, run this much since that first year, Matt Eberflus, where Matt Eberflus was trying to kind of, make the best of the young guys, and everybody was trying to make the team, and they were all trying to compete, and they were a hard-fought team all season that did nothing but go out there and get their butts kicked, and you end up winning 3 games. But you fought hard, right? After that, you didn't see a hard practice again. Like I've said, the 3 practices that we've been to, so 2 OTAs, I'm not even talking rookie mini camps, the 2 OTA practices and today's first mandatory mini camp are the most physical and probably physically demanding practices I've seen from the Chicago Bears in my 4 years of going up there and covering this team at Hallis. And that goes back to the last year of Matt Nagy. So I'm not as worried about some of the soft tissue injuries that the Bears are having, because I almost expected this to come. I almost expected this to be a thing. Jimmy says, y'all are thin at DB. I mean, Jimmy, I wouldn't agree with that at all. There's so many DBs on this team. Like, that's just not knowing the Bears right now, which is fine. You're a Packer fan. But if Tyree Stevenson goes down, Kyler Gordon can step in. If Kyler Gordon goes down, Terrell Smith can step in. If Jaquan Brisker goes down, Jonathan Owens can step in. Like we've got a bunch of DBs on this team. We have so many DBs on this team. And I ain't even talked about some of the rookies who actually are stepping up. Yeah, we're good at DBs. We're good at DB. Tony Tsunami said, are the coaches more inclined to speak and give more information during the press conferences compared to previous regimes? These coaches are confident. These coaches are confident. You're not dealing with, now this may blow up in their faces, right? We may get to the end of the season and we're sitting at 5-12 again, and we're sitting there going, wow, we don't know what happened. I don't know how we got here. This is tough. Sweet Jesus. But we believed we were there. They believe. Eric Bieniemy, Ben Johnson, Antoine Randall, Al Harris. There's not a single one of these coaches that has been brought in. Dennis Allen. There's not a single one of these coaches that has been brought in that doesn't believe that the Bears have the talent to go out there and be successful. And they are coaching this team not like we're trying to catch up with our talent, but that we're just trying to get this talent to understand what level they can actually be at. That's why this coaching staff is so confident. That's why they're getting on this, guys. And this is why I posted the clip where you see even Ian Wheeler, Ian Wheeler's out there. And I don't know if he's fully healthy. I think he's getting himself back worked into some things. That was one thing I didn't bring up. Ian Wheeler was back out there at practice today. It was very good to see him back out there at practice today. Somebody who we were wondering about when OTAs and stuff came around and we didn't see him. We thought he might be, still dealing with injury, but he's out there. And you want to know what Eric Bieniemy said to him? If you didn't get a chance to take a look at the clip, if you're not ready to be in the drill, you shouldn't be out here. So, which would lead me to believe, when I heard it, I was like, oh, he may still be getting used to this. He may still be getting used to getting back. If you're not ready to be in the drill, you shouldn't be out here. You out here. I expect your best. And it's good to see you out there. It's good to see his face out there. I'm glad to see Ian Wheeler back on the field, because y'all know the high hopes that I had for him last year in camp. But if you're not ready to be a part of this drill, you shouldn't be out here. If you out here, you're getting coached hard, coached aggressively, coached to be the best that you can be. And that's what I love about this coaching staff. That's why I like the fact, even when I asked, Ben Johnson a question today about, his belief in the, taking over that left tackle job and who was going to take, the reins on that and kind of where he sees these guys growing. The conversation was, listen, it's still early on, but these guys know what they're supposed to do, and we expect them to go out there and do it. When that's the message that you're pushing, I love it. Hey, you're out on this field, you should be able to accomplish what we're putting in front of you. We're not coddling the guy who may be a little bit banged up right now. We're not coddling the guy who maybe is a little bit more, maybe is behind the 8 ball because he hasn't been out there as much. Hey, if you out here, you got to step your game up. Let's go. So I love how this coaching staff is doing it. Send your questions in, anything you want to know about that I got a chance to see from camp. If I didn't see it, I ain't going to lie to you. I'd tell you right now, I didn't see it. But again, another good camp, good mini camp, I should say. My biggest goal is to see these guys just continue to learn. My biggest goal is to see these guys just continue to learn. And that's what we're seeing early on here. That's what we're seeing from this Bears team on a consistent basis. A team that is looking to continue to learn and get the small things right. Get the footwork right. Get the hand placement right. It's funny. I saw something, even seeing like the small things. So there's another clip I posted on Twitter where, they're practicing the play action. They're putting the hands up. And I want to say it was either Caleb Williams or Tyson Bagent, one of them. And they went to put their hand in there, and it was something small. And maybe this was nothing, but he didn't have his hand in the right place. And I guess it's just a trainer. He wasn't a position coach. One of the trainers just smacked his hand away, essentially. And what it looked like to me was to say, put your hand in the right spot. This is no center. There's no center. There's no, offensive line in front of you. You're not taking a real snap. It's a coach taking his hand and putting the ball in your hand. That's it. And even in small moments like that, you're seeing coaches, hey, you got to get that up out of here, man. Say Shy City said, was Billings practicing? What two were with the ones out of the three of Dexter, Billings, and Jarrett? So with the ones today, to me, looked like Dexter and Jarrett. I think Dexter and Jarrett is going to be your ones. Billings was out there and was involved in practice as well. But to me, when you're talking about actually Billings had a nice play where he got in the backfield yet again. I don't know how he's turned himself from a run stuffer to a pass rusher, but he actually had a play where he got into the backfield, and I think he forced Tyson left, and Tyson had to make a tough play that ended up going for nothing. But it seems like Dexter and Jarrett are going to be the two number ones on this team, which you would expect. Yeah, honestly, it to me is once I heard that Gervon Dexter was really stepping up in a manner that the Bears defensive line was like, we'll come to you. That, hey, he's setting the workouts. We'll come to you. We'll make sure that, or not that we'll make sure, but we'll come down there and work out with you. We want to build this camaraderie. We want to build these moments together. Once you heard that, it was like, oh, Gervon Dexter kind of saw the Grady Jarrett signing and was like, yeah, glad to have you here, my guy, but this is my team. This is my defense. So I was I kind of love that. I kind of love that. But yeah, I think it's going to be Dexter and Jarrett. I think your backups are going to be Billings and Shamar Turner. But even with that, there's a want to what are you doing back there? Go back upstairs. Daddy working. Go back upstairs. Okay, you just wanted to give me a hug. I love you. Oh, okay. All right, go back upstairs. Oh, my daughter comes down trying to scare me. I think your want to is not to have a starting front. Your want to is to have guys that you can rotate in who all can create pressure. And that to me is kind of what the Bears have been able to put together with the 4 interior pieces. And you got to include Dayo Odeyingbo in that as well. That's why I say when you look at this defensive line, bro, like this is not going to be a defensive line that is. This is not going to be a defensive line that you can predict as easily as you could last season. Because you knew they were only going to rush 4 and there wasn't going to be a ton of blitz and the team was going to play back. And you were comfortable with that because you knew that they couldn't cover for very long because they were never going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. To me, this is a defensive line. I think Shamar Turner fits in perfectly in a penetrating scheme. I think that he's going to hit the ground running probably quicker than most of the second round picks will in this preseason heading into the regular season. I think the Javon Dexter is poised to take a step here with Grady Jarrett standing next to him. I think the Dayo Odeyingbo is poised to take a step here with Grady Jarrett standing opposite of him and knowing you've got that interior pressure coming from the inside. The Bears built this defensive line the way that they wanted to, and it's them prioritizing interior pressure over exterior pressure, even though they still went out and paid $16 million to bring in Dayo Odeyingbo, who provides that exterior pressure. Like, those are the things to me that are going to be completely different, that maybe people looked at as small moves that are going to end up being big moves in the long run. But overall, listen, I thought good day of minicamp, good day of practice. Still waiting to see, things kind of click for the offense. The offense a long way away. But at the point where we're at now, tempo is good. In and out of the huddle is good. Getting lined up is good. No penalties is good. We weren't seeing that by this point. We were seeing the flags. We were seeing the false starts. These were talking points for us last year. We saw we saw our first flag on the line of OTAs at all from the second team today. OTAs, minicamp, all of that. So I think you've got a team that's really, really moving in the right direction. And I'm really excited to see how they continue to lock down on some of these little things and what this Bears team is going to be able to do in the long run. We'll see the steps they take from day 1 to day 2 tomorrow. Like I said, I probably won't be posting much tomorrow as well. We'll do the morning breeze, of course. But outside of that, I probably won't be posting too much tomorrow because of, again, the funeral. So stay tuned in with us. Anything that I do get, anything that I do see, I'll try to react to. But probably Thursday is when we'll be back in full action. Appreciate you guys for rocking with us and staying tapped in with us, staying tuned in with us, man. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. I got to go do the Chicago Bears podcast because I'm covering Bears everywhere today. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down. One love. Peace.
The best show for Chicago sports. Oh my God!